Hello, church family. We have a Wednesday night of Wednesday nights for you. I can't wait to share it with you. So, hello, church family. Wednesday, June 23rd. Um, it's our oasis here at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, our Wednesday night service. And what is an oasis? An oasis is a place where we can be together as a community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays. Reverend Jeff introduced our Wednesday night services in the Satang style with the intention that they be informal, intimate, and rich. And boy, is it going to deliver that tonight. Spirit has brought us a most wonderful speaker. But let me remind you about the annual theme. Our annual theme is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And our monthly theme is The Soul's Call. And we're also celebrating Pride Month. And I noticed on Sunday, I was asked to do the meditation. I realized we have so much celebration, not only Pride Month and not only looking at the Soul's Call, but it was also summer solstice and Father's Day. So there was plenty of celebrating going on Sunday. So if you're here joining us for the first time, we welcome you. And if you're not already subscribing to our Village News newsletter, please think about doing that. It's on our homepage, lower left-hand corner, and submit your email, and you'll get the Village News that tells you what's coming up in the next week, so you can see it all in one place. Please note that you will be muted, both your microphone and camera, by our Zoom team, and that's only to improve the quality of our program tonight. The Soul's Call, and I think Spirit called this soul to us tonight for a reason, and I'm so excited that she's here. Tonight, our speaker is Reverend Dr. Sunshine Michelle Coleman. Now that's a mouthful from a guy that has a name that's Paul Prezzuti. If you can get that out, you can get Reverend Dr. Sunshine Michelle Coleman out of your mouth. So much to talk about her, but I'll read from her bio and then I'll elaborate. As I always do, you know what to expect from me, folks. So Reverend Sunshine has been in religious science and unity for more than 4 decades. I can't believe that, but it's true. And she was ordained in 2017. She is the founding community leader of Authenticity Journey of Renewal, a CSL focused ministry, and that was launched in 2016. Reverend Sunshine has a passion for uncovering the true authentic self and convening sacred space. She has been a human resources professional for many years. Reverend Sunshine served actively with all of the CSL spiritual communities in Oakland, including starting with us at First Church of Religious Science, where she took her practitioner training and served as a licensed practitioner, and again later rejoined the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. Her son, Freddie Lambright III, participated in the OCSL youth program, and many of you probably remember him, and he graduated several years ago, that's hard for me to believe, from the School of Art Institute of Chicago as an illustrator. So we have one of our own youth program children out in the world being an illustrator. How wonderful is that? But my personal relationship with Sunshine is special. When I first came to the center, I noticed her working from the pulpit in her capacity as practitioner and pulpit assistant, and she's a consummate presenter. I was struck by her stage presence and her eloquence on the pulpit whenever she was there on Sundays and Wednesdays. She was one of the very first members of the leadership team to greet me directly, face to face, and encourage me. She had such a great sense of kindness and supported me on several occasions and events at the center. her presence, I can directly track back to her encouraging me to be the active member of the congregation that you now know as Paul Presutti. So if you like me, say thank you to her. If you don't like me, say thank you to her. Okay. So, Sunshine, it's with a great amount of gratitude that you join us tonight. And I hope you know it's enveloped in lots of love and gracious um, um, understanding of how important you are to us as a member that has encouraged so many of us. So thank you for being here. And I'm going to turn the program over to you and ask that you open us up in prayer.
Okay, well, I'm just like, I'm wanting to respond right away, but before I respond, let me get to prayer, okay? So,
Yeah.
beloveds, let us just come together in that space of the infinite, in that space of unlimited possibility, in that space of knowing that there is nothing that cannot be made manifest in the creative spot of God that we are basking in. Because God is all that and more. God is who we are. The infinite presence of spirit is its own unlimited potential. Its creativity is so magnificent that it is forever creating itself. And that is why we are made in our own signature, which is of its likeness. But none of us are the same, yet we share in the oneness of the infinite. How wonderful is that? And so as we come together in this knowingness, we also come together in the knowingness that this time together tonight is a blessing. This time together, we are co-creating a wonderful vibration that touches our lives so that we are never the same again, for we are transformed simply by being in each other's presence. And so therefore, I bless every single person that is in the sound of my voice, whether it's live on the Zoom call or on the recording, that they can hear us, they can hear our exchange, that we play together, that we grow together, that we light up. And as we light up individually and collectively, we send that light out into the ethers so that it helps to light up the world with healing and well-being and transformation and whatever else is needed. So I am so grateful for this. I am just standing so excitedly in this place of gratitude and love and knowing. And so with my knowing, there's nothing else for me to do but simply to release this word and just turn it over into the divine partnership of love and law, where it says yes, I'm saying yes, I know that you're saying yes, we're all saying yes, and therefore it is made so. And so it just showers us with the blessings right here and right now. Blessed be, and so it is. Yes, it is, right now, right now, right now. Thank you, Paul, for the introduction, and please pardon my fan. I tried to turn it off, but I think I need it on, so just ignore it, okay? And I need to stand up, so that's why you see it behind me. It's good to be here with y'all, having been a part of the OCSL family for so long. And I love the title today. See, it's a good thing I prayed first because I forgot what I was going to say that I wanted to first respond to in Paul's introduction. But don't worry, Paul, I'll get you back. Anyway, I hope y'all are here to have a good time because you can tell I'm having a good time. I'm going to, and I want you to too, because the topic tonight is so rich and juicy. I've retitled it. I think I had a little liberty with it, and I'm calling it My Soul's Call to Freedom. It might be the soul's call, but why not personalize it and say My Soul's Call to Freedom? I love it. So what is a soul's call and how do we recognize it? It's easy for us to talk about our soul's call from a spiritual context, but what does that really mean? Even if you're in touch with your soul's call, how do you delve deeper? I know many of you are well practiced in spirituality, because I've known some of you for a lot of years. That's part of what I was going to say. I've known a lot of you on the call for a long time. And so you're well practiced. And so what does it mean to delve deeper into the soul's call? To find out what that means, to get underneath the call to the depths of our being. And do we really hear the soul's call? And how do we hear it? Is it through our intuition or our instinct? Is it an urge or a nudge, an impulsion, a compulsion, or even a drive to move in a certain direction, to say a certain thing? Maybe it's all of the above or something else that you know. And when we have our interaction later, maybe you can answer some of these questions. But as I started to prepare for this talk, those are the questions that came up for me, because I like to break it down. So the soul's call. And then you add on to it, this is the good part, the call to freedom, as opposed to or versus a call to something else. Like we could have said, my soul's called to love. That would have been good. My soul's called to compassion. All those would have been good. And it's my soul's call to freedom that we're exploring tonight. I love it. So here's how I break it down even more. Our divine nature is to fully express from our innate, our inherent qualities of God. It's within us, just as I prayed a moment ago. This is what we're all about. Sometimes we just forget it and we have to remind ourselves, right? Innately, inherently, the qualities of God are within us, which include freedom, love, truth, compassion, and anything else you want to talk about. That's where freedom is. And through our lived experience, our lived human experience, here's what I believe, is that, we're in the fullest expression of God, and we come here into this earth plane as what I call an earth school. And we have this lived human experience, but we forget what we knew on the big scope of things, so that we can recollect, we can remember, we can remember our divine birthright and our heritage. And that's what we're here to do, I believe. And that's why our spiritual practices are so important. And the connection that we establish and reestablish and deepen with spirit is so important to support that process. Our soul's calling helps us to know that we are, listen to me now, that we're eternally tethered and connected to the divine presence. Did you hear that? We are eternally tethered and connected. I think of it as a divine umbilical cord, where we get our nutrients and our flow, just as a fetus does in the mother's womb. We're always connected to the divine presence, but we have to be aware of it, or else it feels like we're not connected. Sometimes we feel separate, but we're not. And so our soul's calling helps us to recollect or remember that eternal tethering. And if we have a sense of fear, which is a human experience, right? There's no human that I know of that hasn't experienced fear or a sense of separation. And why is that? It causes us to forget this tethering, this divine connection, like we've lost our footing. I remember Dr. Margaret once saying, and I've remembered ever since for all these years, once we know, we can never not know again. Once we become aware of our divinity, we can't turn that off. We can try to ignore it. It's all about choice, and it's about volition. So we can choose to not do something, which is freedom in and of itself. But it's there anyway, whether we try to ignore it or not. And sometimes it's patient with us, but it comes back round and reminds us of who we are. We remember at some point. And when we remember to breathe into our divine connection and to allow, as we did in the meditation, then we can remember our oneness. We remember who we are, which is so important to life. And then we can tap into more deeply and dig deeper and delve inside the divine more fully and completely as us. We wouldn't be here if there wasn't something for us here. I'm right now, my Aunt Irma, bless her heart, ancestor, my great aunt, is coming to my mind in her right before her transition. You know, she was bedridden for quite some time. And she would say, I just don't know why I'm still here. Like I've prayed about it, I've talked to God, I don't know why I'm still here, and I don't know the answer. But in relationship to what I just said to you, there was something that she was here for. We may not understand it. It may look a certain way, but there's always a bigger meaning. So if we allow ourselves to tap into our trust, even if we don't know from a place of awareness, we can rest assured that all is well if we trust in God. And when we remember who we are, we can express as only we can. That's our signature. That's when we hear that no two blades of grass, no two leaves on a tree, no two grains of sand are the same. We're all different. And this is the sweet spot of our true authentic self, which is my passion about authenticity and how we live our own unique signature of life. It's like our fingerprints, you know, that are all different. It's a distinguishing factor. Maybe it's the way we smile or the way we laugh, or we have an uncanny ability to make people feel at ease. You know whatever your special thing is. And if you don't know, keep searching for it because it will reveal itself. It may be a gift that you have or a passion that's spurned from within, that yearning to express in just that way, like an aptitude for cooking or being out in nature and hiking, or something that we're drawn to, making, building architecture, whatever it is. And when we're doing, get this, when we're doing our being, or when we're being our being, when we're being in that space from deep within, this is our calling. And our heart smiles. I'm sure you've all had a time when your heart smiled about something that just, you can't explain it. It just feels so good for you to do. And it not only makes us happy, but it also radiates that vibration out to positively affect others in the world. That's why we're here. That's what I believe, at least. And so Paul mentioned, June as being rich with so many things to celebrate, like Pride Month, you've been celebrating all month, or Father's Day that just passed, summer solstice that's here. And guess what? Juneteenth was just on Saturday, and which is the emancipation of enslavement of African people in America. And this year, it took all this time, but this year it was made a holiday, a legal holiday. That's no small feat. And I've heard some people say, yeah, but it's about time, and we're not done yet. And what about reparations? And that's all true, but we just have to take it for what it is and be grateful. So for people of color, Black people in particular, this instinct that I'm talking about, this freedom, this signature that I'm talking about, that soul's calling, which I can speak to because I'm of African descent, born here in this country. This instinctual place comes from a cultural lineage and resilience of our people. We're known to have rhythm and can dance. We're artists of all sorts. We're nurturers because of our lived experiences. We have color and we have flavor, and it's not to the exclusion of any others, but I'm talking about my people in particular. It's because of who we are and a part of our experience. And we've excelled in so many areas, from agriculture to business to fashion to inventions. We're just a magnificent and brilliant people, if I may say so myself. And regardless of the experience of enslavement, our people have excelled and survived. And we're compassionate and proud, and we're resilient. There's a series on Netflix that if you haven't seen it, you got to see it. At first, because I'm a pescatarian, I only eat fish. I didn't like the name of it, High on the Hog. And I finally watched it, and it is brilliant. You got to see it. It's about this gentleman, Stephen Satterfield, who's the host. He's a trained chef and a sommelier, a wine expert, who hosts the show as he travels the world tracing African ancestry and how culinary delights were created. And it focuses and highlights the cultural experiences of enslaved Africans in America, making the best of what they had as far as food and turning it into gold through creativity and living. So you discover that Black people in this country, despite their experiences, were the ones who started catering, the catering industry. That we're the makers of the macaroni, our favored macaroni and cheese. You know, there's so many things that we don't go back to and look at where it came from, and this show depicts it. And the show, here's a quote from the New York Times. It illuminates the resilience and ingenuity of Black cooks who have shaped American cuisine since the arrival of the first slave ships. It's such a great document. It's not even a docu, but it's a series. And speaking to this part about freedom and our own signature, there's a quote here that I love, and I remember seeing this episode where Gerald Guy is a Black food blogger and photographer, and she says, as she tears up, she's talking about she's telling the host, Stephen Satterfield, about her passion for being in the kitchen. And she said, I feel like the kitchen is one of the safest spaces for me. It gives me a feeling of empowerment. And I think that's really important for a lot of Black women who maybe don't have a space like that. So that's what I'm talking about. That's your soul's calling. That's her calling. So she bakes. And it's just so beautiful. I spoke here at OCSL in February for Black History Month, and the talk title, I don't remember if it was my own or if it was given to me, it was Journey to Freedom. And I mentioned that freedom is not only a divine quality of God, like I just described, but it's a choice. You have to choose freedom. You can be as miserable and enslaved or bound, confined in consciousness as you want to be. But it's a choice. You don't have to be. And when we're in tune with our soul and our divine connection, then we're not only free to express who we are, we seek further and greater and deeper expressions of freedom. My focus ministry, Authenticity Journey of Renewal, was a proud sponsor of this weekend's Center for Spiritual Living Honoring Freedom Juneteenth Symposium that we just had. And it was wonderful. It was 8 hours of programming. And Freddie presented there. I was so proud of him. He put in his proposal and it was accepted and he presented. It had speakers and music and it was just so well done. And I couldn't have been more proud of the spectacular job that they all did bringing that together. And it was a fundraiser for a New Thought conference next year in Unity Village in August. And so it was great. So we were a sponsor. And it was just informational, it was educational, it was entertaining, it was honoring and sacred. It was a grand experience. And I get to come here, wouldn't you know, and talk to you about it. It's just a wonderful synchronicity that's happening. And there's so many takeaways that relate to this topic of our soul's call to freedom that were introduced in the conference. My alarm went off so I can stay timely. I'm going to bring it to a close in a moment. But there's a couple quotes I want to tell you about. They had an elder panel with 6 religious science elders, including several from the Bay Area here. Reverend Eloise Oliver was on it, Reverend Dr. and Reverend Dr. Sandra Jackson, who used to be in San Jose and now she's in Georgia. And it was moderated by one of our practitioners who's actually on the Leadership Council, Ayodele McClinney, and she's on the East Coast. And Ayo said this teaching, she was talking about the science of mind, focuses on individual accountability, and you are responsible for yourself. Now, that might feel like a big burden for us to be responsible for ourselves, but it's true. That's how you can choose freedom. We can stop right now if we catch ourselves in this swirl that's going downhill, and we can choose differently. We're taught that as a part of our principles. So I loved that she said that. And Tracy Brown, who's another fabulous practitioner out of Dallas, who, if you haven't heard, just was named doctor in religious science. So Dr. Tracy Brown, she does wonderful diversity work and just some magnificent things for this movement. In her talk, she said, I don't have to know who you are to know who I am. Now that's some freedom right there. I don't have to know anything about anybody else except for me. I'm responsible for me. And our own Reverend D. Jacqueline Edwards, who gave a talk, said, if you're here on this planet, it is by divine appointment and agreement to participate in this period of evolution and great transformation and transfiguration that the planet is calling for. I thought that was so poignant and so deep. She also said, the more something pisses us off, the more we know it's our work to do. Now that's breaking it down for you, right? So as I bring this to a close so that we can open it up, I'm going to end on pride, because this is Pride Month, and it's the month of freedom from so many vantage points. And it doesn't have to just be for 1 month. It can be this every day. Anything we want to honor, we can honor within our hearts. And, our soul's call to freedom extends not only to freedom of expression and the ability to be who you are, but as we envelop our LGBTQ plus family, we know that we can be whoever we are, we can love whoever we want to love, and it's we can be culturally who we are, every aspect of freedom, but it's for us to, certainly society, but it's for us to embrace for ourselves. And especially for those who are of other identities, and I don't even want to say other, that's othering, just of whatever identity, whatever uniqueness, whatever intersection, whatever qualities that we have that make us us, is what we want to honor. So as we close, and shortly I'm going to open up the line so that we can talk about this, I'm going to repose the questions that I said at the beginning. And y'all can respond when we have our discussion. So here were the questions. Like, I talked about it, and hopefully we have a little more perspective about it. And you might have your own perspective. We're here to learn from each other. But what is a soul's call? And how do you recognize it? I gave some examples, but you may have your own. And even if you're in touch with your soul's calling, how do we delve deeper? How do you delve deeper? How do you hear underneath the call to the depths of our being? Paul mentioned that I've been in religious science is actually more than 4 decades. Whew, it's a lot. It's a lot. And so I'm well practiced, like many of you. How do we delve deeper? How do you go deeper? And I know I have gone deeper. Like, my faith is a blind faith. I couldn't always say that. But I'm so well practiced. I've honed my faith muscle that when I hear, and I've honed how Spirit speaks to me, I know that. And now I act on it without thinking. That takes some practice to do. And just 2 more questions. Do we hear the soul's call through our intuition or our instinct, or is it an urge or a nudge, an impulsion, a compulsion, or a drive to move in a certain direction or say a certain thing? Like, what is it? Maybe it's all of that, maybe it's something different. And lastly, is the call to freedom unique? What is it so unique about the call to freedom as opposed to the call to love? But tonight we're talking about our call to freedom, our soul's call, not just a call, our soul's call to freedom. And that, beloved, is the talk. So, Sage, how do we do this? Team, how do we do this? I want to hear from y'all. You know, I can hold the conversation with you. Don't make me call on you. This is supposed to be interactive. Y'all better interact with me.
Okay, there's the warning, and there's the choice, and there's the, I'll change the word from warning to invitation. So if everybody that wants to participate in sharing, you go into gallery view and you turn on your camera and leave your mic off. And if you wish to share, if you know how to use the participant screen to put up your hand, or you can do it the Paul way and go like this, hello, I would like to speak. Peggy's going to be our moderator, I believe.
Absolutely.
And she'll recognize folks. I did, Dr. Sunshine, put into the chat what I gathered were the questions. What is a soul's call, and how do you recognize it? How do we delve deeper? Do we hear the sound? That's supposed to be soul's call through instinct or drive or compulsion. Is the call to freedom unique as opposed to the call to love? So that's what
or whatever you want to talk about. How do you feel about what I just said?
Exactly. So if anybody wants to share, now's your time to raise your hand and let Peggy know, and we'll start.
Hey, Sage, go ahead, Sage.
Sure, I'll chime in. Well, thank you so much for being here. This really spoke to me on many levels, and it's so great to hear your expertise and to just have it in the room. Thank you. What you just said about honing your faith muscle and really kind of tuning into how spirit speaks to you. I just want to hear a little bit more about how you honed that faith muscle, because I find myself often just kind of frozen a little bit, and I really want to be able to like surrender to that, to the unknown, and also to that muscle. You say it's a muscle, so I'm guessing you had to practice it and build it and lift weights and work on it. So maybe you can give me some encouragement when my personal muscle is a little, like, I wouldn't say atrophied, but I would say definitely like not quite bench lifting yet.
I love the question, Sage. And because you asked the question, you're open. And here's what I believe. I think I mentioned that all of us have fear. Whether we admit it or not, we have some fear in there somewhere, right? And I think some people feel like in order for you to have faith, you need to overcome the fear. I don't necessarily believe that. You can. Here's a tool too. What I find myself saying and using with people that I work with is to jump off the cliff of faith. That doesn't mean that you don't take the fear with you. It doesn't mean that you have to work through the fear before you can jump off the cliff of faith. It's a part of it. So you have to, in my opinion, be well practiced in the way you practice is when you find that there's something that you know is yours to do. You have to listen. You have to hone that listening muscle too, to know what your divine calling is, or what your divine message is, or what you're supposed to do. And then you just, maybe you keep trying, but you're scared, you can't, however long that takes you to get there, at some point you jump. And it may not be graceful. You may, you know, fall and smack yourself. That's what we're afraid of. We think of gravity, right? You know, oh my goodness, when we think of jumping, because we think of the human jump. But we forget about what I'm talking about when you jump off the cliff of faith. We're not factoring in usually that we might be able to fly. We're thinking we're going to fall and crash. And so you just do it. You do it anyway. And then when you do it, you realize, oh, I did it. I didn't die. Oh, huh. Then you go to lessons learned. What did I learn from that? How did I do that? How did I get there? And then when another fear comes up, the way it works is hopefully you remember what that last time. And oh, I got through it then, so I can get through it now. And as we keep climbing, yes, the fears might grow, but that doesn't mean that the faith is not growing too, because then it becomes easier for you to jump.
Thank you. That's a perfect answer to my question. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you both. Eileen, you have seen you have your hand up, Eileen.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your talk. I am so glad that I am here this evening. And Sage, thank you for your question, because I think about my muscle memory a lot in terms of my spirituality. And, you know, what I heard tonight, I have a couple observations and then a couple of answers to your questions. The most important that I've learned with Science of Mind is that we have choice. Our life isn't done to us. And that's a big revelation. And when things are difficult, I try really hard to remember that I can change it. And, you know, when you said, how do I recognize the calling? Fortunately or unfortunately, usually because it's painful. You know, that's what gets my attention. It's, you know, that's just sort of the way it is. Not all the time. And, you know, there are more frequent times when more positive gets my attention. You know, and I was thinking about muscle memory, and it's small steps, but, you know, when things are difficult for me or when I get anxious, I actually remember to breathe. I didn't always do that. I would just hold my breath and panic. So there are little steps, but, you know, you're an inspiration in that I'm listening and thinking, okay, well, you know, my muscles are going to get stronger if I keep doing this. And I also have to remember it doesn't have to be perfect. And there's probably going to be a lot of few steps back, few steps forward. You know, it's life. It's not, I don't feel like I'm going to graduate or I'm working towards, you know, getting it perfectly. So thank you.
That's beautiful, Eileen. That's beautiful. And, you know, we used to tell the kids, we need to tell ourselves, practice makes perfect. You know, we just have to keep at it. You don't get good at anything unless you practice it. And another tool that Spirit has made me aware of is changing our default system. You know, sometimes we have a default to fear, or a default to doubt, or a default to panic, or a default to, you know, any of the things that you all just mentioned, or, you know what your default is. But on the continuum, if we look at fear to faith, for instance, or hatred, you know, or unworthiness and acceptance, or whatever the continuum is, it's not either or. It's just like the other side of the continuum. It's what we focus on. And if our default is focused on this end, then we figure out what's on the other end that we want to change the default to. It's like this device. You know, you can change, it's defaulted to the system things, you know, that the system puts in. That doesn't mean you can't change it. So sometimes we have to change our default system from whatever it is that we've been programmed to something different. And we do that through our spiritual practices. And just remind ourselves, we have to keep at it, you know. Peggy, do we have any other questions?
I'm looking around. Yes, Dodie, please.
I actually just want to make a comment. Reverend Sunshine, it's so good to have you here tonight. And I have known you for a long, long time as well. I recognize that just watching you speak, so confidence and poise, and then you mentioned something about nervousness. I can't imagine that you experience any nervousness in your presentation, and your depth of your conversation allows us to grow to believe it fuller because of your confidence and your, maybe it's flair, I don't know, but I loved it. And as she was saying, I was listening to her about how do you hone your faith, and I recognize that the deeper we believe in ourselves, and that's what I get from you, the broader or the more open it appears that you're in it, you're in your faith. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it, it's a honed muscle too, Dodie. And to be real honest, shoots, after you spend 40 years in a certain movement, and practicing, and sometimes I felt like I wasn't practicing because I was getting a result that I didn't want. But, after you keep doing that, you're bound to see some improvement or something. I've always been kind of gregarious, and, I've always been vocal and that kind of thing. And that bug hit me around authenticity and authentic self-expression. That's my passion. That's what my dissertation is in. And it just, as I worked on it within myself and was discovering that within myself and what that looked like, I wanted to, expose other people to it or support them, or however you say it. The more you focus on it and you reconcile whatever it is that we've been programmed, like I said, the default system, through our family, through society, through whatever it is that we have to unlearn. One psychologist told me one time, he was a faculty member where I was working, and he challenged me and we debated. He said, "You can't unlearn stuff." And it's like, yes, you can. Well, maybe he's right. Maybe there's a programming where it's always there, but you can learn something new that can replace that. Okay, so then I'll give you that. But so when I kept looking at, like, who am I in here? Like, I would have a question in a group, in a group setting, and I would want to ask this question, but there was a fear of me being judged a certain way by this question, as if I was ignorant or didn't know, or that's a dumb question. Or have you ever had that? You make all these things up. You don't know that for sure, but that's what you think, and so you're afraid. And what happens? You don't ask it.
Right.
Or at least that's what I wasn't doing. I wasn't asking it. And then somehow, Sage, I found some faith in there. It's said in the sacred text, all you need is a faith the size of a mustard seed. I found some faith in there, and I would raise my hand and I'd ask it anyway. Sometimes it would take me a long time, but I would ask it. And invariably, somebody else would say, "Oh, I wondered that too." Right? So, the more I did that, the more confident I became, the less I cared about what other people thought about me, because I was prioritizing myself, not in an ego way, but more of self-care, self-worth, freedom. You're right. I mean, so it's like, yeah. So now I don't care if I sound stupid, because somewhere in there is a good reason for me to ask the question. So I ask it. So that's what it is, Dodie. It's just, we just have to keep moving and keep doing it. And I see Constance's hand. Sorry, Peggy, can we call on Constance?
Please do.
Well, you're actually going to get 2 for 1, because Bonnie has something to say too. But I wanted to say that when COVID, one of the things that happened for me during COVID was that, it's sort of like, it's not that I didn't have anything to do because I was working really hard, but Bonnie actually got involved in an art course, and she said, "Would you like to do it with me?" And so I said, yeah, and I started doing it. I had a lot of collage work. But what happened throughout the course is that, not that course, but I remembered how much my soul is satisfied when I'm painting. And I had come up against that several other times in my life when I had started to paint. And I just did not have the belief in myself. I did not have the self-worth. I did not have the internal freedom to be able to allow myself to do it. And then something this time was different. It was like I had done enough work on myself. I'd done enough of that internal work that now when I do it, I can go to it and I can say, this is just play. And it is just play. If I get too serious, then it's not fun anymore. But you probably can't see the one that's behind me, but this is one that I worked on just a while ago, but it started just as an exercise in using different brushes and different strokes to see what kind of things I could do with different brushes. And then I just sort of waited and I got something came to me to do with it. It got to a point in the painting where I needed to put this big line over a part that I really loved. And I was fearful. I was all the what ifs were going through my head, like what if I ruin this? What if I can't do this? And finally I had to remember, and I remembered the monks and the sand paintings and the mandalas. And I thought, okay, now if the monks can sit around for days creating these incredible sand paintings and let the wind take it, I can put a line on this painting and trust that it's going to turn out the way, and it turned out better than, of course, than I ever thought. So, but that to me is, I think, one of the things that I found is that's part of that the creativity, and particularly in that particular way, is part of my soul's call. And so I'm going to turn it over to my friend Bonnie, who pushed me into that this time.
I want to say to Sage, what I have found is that to feel the fear and do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And the divine speaks to me through very clear answers. If I'm debating on whether I should do something, if I have to go back and forth, yes, I should, no, I shouldn't, yes, I should, no, I shouldn't, that's not the divine speaking to me. Mine comes as a very direct yes or no. And I have that awareness now that I am aware of when I'm getting a direct yes or no. And last year, you talk about fear during the middle of COVID, we moved out of the country, but I got a very clear, Bonnie, pack up and go. Pack up and go, live in Ireland with your daughter. Just go. And I never, even though, yes, it was COVID, we had to do so many things, it was the divine speaking to me. And that was, for me, a true turning point in faith. Now I, as I said, feel the fear and do it anyway. When the divine speaks to me, it is very, very clear, but only because I have allowed myself to really be aware and to listen and to see how I feel when I'm doing something. It's like, does this feel good? Does it feel right? Or it's like, oh, I want to go home. Oh, I'm not enjoying myself. Or it's like, wow, I'm really in the flow. So paying attention to how you feel. And my other point is feel the fear and do it anyway. I'm done. I'm complete.
I love that 2 for 1. And I love that picture. Yes, I can see it, Constance. And it's exactly that. Maybe it wasn't called fear. I don't know. It was hesitation, whatever was causing you to hesitate. And you did exactly what I was suggesting, in that you work through it. You have to work through it. And I heard her say, I recalled, right? Recollect. And then I was able to do it. And I bet you, she didn't say this, but I bet you it was empowerment. Because look at that beautiful painting. I mean, it's like, oh, now, but she had to have faith and trust in order to do that. And I'm with you totally, Bonnie. It's like you have the fear and you feel the fear. I know we're just about time, but I want to put an affirmation in here that I'm going to share with you. but you feel the fear and you do it anyway. That's what jumping off the cliff and bring the fear with you means. It's not like you have to deal with the fear first and then you'll have faith. It's not that. It's not neat and tidy like that necessarily. So here is it's an original, one of my favorite affirmation statements. You feel free and use it. You just give me credit, okay? I hear and act upon my divine inner messages without hesitation. That sums it all up as we prepare to close. It means that when I hear what the divine is telling me, and we have to come to know how spirit speaks to me. Like Bonnie heard loud and clear for her, maybe it was words or whatever. Someone else might feel a tug or urge at their heart, or someone might feel a whisper. Or someone might drive by and they keep seeing the same words over and over again, whatever it is. However spirit speaks to you is going to be unique to you. The more you follow it, the more you hear it, the more you follow it, the quicker you'll be able to respond to it without hesitation. That's how I can just do it and not even think about it now. I know when spirit speaks, and I know when I don't follow it. I notice now if I'm hesitant for some reason. Like if I didn't do it right away, I feel awkward. But even that's a lesson. Beloveds, all of this is a lessons learned. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just step back and say, oh, what's in there for me? So when I notice that I've hesitated there, and then I can kind of learn from that and take it into, that hones the muscle. That's lifting the weights, Sage. So, Peggy, I think we're done.
I think we
I'm
got
2 minutes over time.
We got Paul pursuing hand. That's what we got. Paul, is anybody else besides Paul?
Well,
I'm 2
yes,
minutes
this
over.
is Lisa.
Lisa, okay.
This is Lisa. I have something to say.
Okay, Lita, please, let's hear you.
Oh, that's Miss Lita?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, Reverend Sunshine.
Hi, honey.
Yoo-hoo.
Hi, honey.
It's been a while. It's been a while. It's so good to hear you. I wish I could say see you, but mentally I could see you, and it's so good to have you with OCSL today or tonight. I'll be quick. I'd like to address freedom. So thank you for everything you've said this evening. I've chosen to be still because in our Dr. Dan lesson this week, we spoke of stillness in the stillness. So I've been still. But now I have something to say, and today I had a couple of appointments, and which I kept. And afterwards, I normally would have gone back home and addressed 1,000 things to do, but I said no. And so I walked and walked many blocks to downtown Oakland from where I was. And I noticed all the beautiful Black art, the color, and I was just mesmerized by the pictures and, block after block after block, which I wasn't aware of because I hadn't gone downtown Oakland for months and months. So this was like a new awakening or awareness. I mean, I was aware that the art was down there, but just to see it and take it all in was just amazing. And I decided I was going to have lunch at City Center, and I did that, and it felt good. I tried something different to eat. I sat down, looked around, and one of the fountains was going. The water was just leaping in the air, and it was just, I felt so free. I felt free, unencumbered, and didn't think about anything. Just breathed in everything that was around me, and it felt good. And I finally got home, and I thought, oh, I have to be home by 7 o'clock. So anyway, that was my experience of freedom today. I allowed myself to feel free and be free and think free. So that's all I have to say. And thank you, Reverend Michelle.
That's good. That's a last but not least. I'm so glad Miss Lita got a chance to speak on that. Okay, Paul, take it away, baby.
Well, first of all, let's thank Reverend Sunshine Michelle. Everybody, I know you saw the chats, Reverend Sunshine. Everybody loves you. Thank you so much. I wanted to follow up on your faith thing that we learned in Dr. Dan, that faith is a present thing and hope is a future thing. So Jody, correct me if I'm wrong, but that strengthened my faith in faith, knowing that it's a here and now thing.
Mm.
So I'm going to jump a little bit more because of you. So thank you. And I do want to take a special moment to thank all of you that joined us. I'm grateful for that. We have someone super, super duper special, and that's Reverend Jerry from our ELT team. I want to give her a second to say hello to all of us if you want, and say hello to Sunshine directly.
Well, thank you, Paul. And I just feel so blessed to have been able to be here this evening. And having Sunshine here is just such a treat and such a delight, and somebody that I just adore over the years in so many ways. So this was the perfect experience this evening. So I thank you. I thank you all who are here, everyone here that I love. I love the questions. I will be with the questions. What I wanted to say real briefly is that do we hear our soul's call? How is that showing up? And I know that it shows up in all the ways you mentioned, Dr. Sunshine, and all of the intuition and the energy and the experience. And I just want to say, when we pay very, very close attention, we remember and see and know and are strengthened by our experience, our demonstrations. And so, yeah, thank you for those great questions. Good to be with
Thanks,
everyone.
Reverend Jerry. Thank you, honey.
Yay for
Thank you.
What a terrific evening we had. So thank you so much, Dr. Sunshine. I'm going to come back to you in a minute for a closing prayer. I have a few announcements I'd like to make that is important for the village to know. Speaking of Reverend Jerry, Sage, when you're ready, darling, we're ready to rumble with this. Speaking of Reverend Jerry, she's speaking this Sunday on the Soul's Call. And to let you know, we are meeting on Zoom this Sunday. Sunday service will still be in Zoom. We're not quite ready to jump into the sanctuary this Sunday as we had planned. Remember, it was a 95% estimate. So the 5% won. And therefore, with great faith, we are going to resume. And I'll tell you more about that in a second. But Sunday in Zoom is Reverend Jerry. So she's here tonight, and we can praise her all tonight and come praise her on Sunday with us. Meditation at 10, service at 10:30, and you know where the link is on the homepage. Next Wednesday, June 30th. If it's the 5th Wednesday of the month, it's practitioner Christopher Brown. Regardless of what we're celebrating, I know he's going to type pride in somewhere. But we'll see what happens, because he's speaking on allowing for differences. And I think that's a great way to cap off our month on the Soul's Call. Meditation at 6:30 and service at 7, again on the homepage for the link or your village news. Tomorrow, Thursday, June 24th at 1 o'clock, Reverend Sonny Contrell Smith is conducting another hour of sacred sharing and listening for all of us. You can sign up on the events page if you wish to attend that tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Please do that soon. Diversity Circle is Friday, June 25th at 7 p.m. To honor Pride Month, the guest speaker is Reverend Dr. Mark Wilson, speaking on unapologetically Black, unashamedly, here we go, spill it, Paul, unashamedly Christian and proudly gay, a Black Baptist preacher's journey with pride. Black Baptist, Christian, and gay are words we rarely hear in the same sentence. Yet these words are real for those whose identities intersect at the corner of race, religion, and sexuality. This diversity circle welcomes participants to take an in-depth look at race and religion in relationship to LGBTQ plus pride through the lens of a Black gay Baptist preacher. The conversation on diversity will not only challenge participants to explore how race and racism makes one look at pride quite differently, but also will invite participants to share what pride means when it comes to the identities which are most important to their own social and cultural performance. This Friday, June 25th at 7 p.m. Check the events page for access, and there is a love offering if you're willing. Have you wanted to use writing as a spiritual practice? Well, here's your chance. Do you use writing now and want to take it to another level? Well, here's your chance. Reverend Catherine Sachs is going to hold a Tuesday night 6-week journey. We call it a class, Writing as Spiritual Practice. The class is in person at the center in the social hall, our new social hall, and starts Tuesday, July 13th at 6:30. The cost is $125, and you can sign up on the current classes page of the website. Here's the scoop on when our Sunday service will move back into the sanctuary. During the pandemic, we upgraded some of our software and camera equipment to be able to live stream with better quality, and also to utilize it with Facebook and YouTube. Our tech team is now working diligently to learn the new systems. We will announce within 2 weeks when we will switch from Zoom to live stream and in person. Please be patient. We're grateful for your patience, and watch for the announcements. With that in mind, also, please save the date, as our sanctuary will be open by then, of Saturday, September 4th for Reverend Jeff's memorial service. And that will be at the Oakland Center, and it is at 11 a.m. So please save that date. Now, we talked about it a lot before the service. We have several groups that meet both in Zoom and in person, but they really have become a great place to share and expand and do all the things that Dr. Sunshine talked about tonight, to embody these lessons that we learn. The Noontime Spiritual Journey group continues to meet Monday through Friday for a half hour of fellowship and spiritual enrichment based on the daily readings of Dr. Dan Morgan. I think you all know the book. I've held it up a couple of times tonight. It's there. Guidance for a Spiritual Journey. You don't need the book to attend. Practitioner Susan Brecker is also leading an in-person small group on Tuesdays from 3 to 4 in the courtyard. And it's a beautiful time to meet there right now. And practitioner Zoe Demuro, who I believe he's still on the call, is leading an online small group on Thursday nights at 6:30. The groups explore the readings for the week and enjoy connections that the gatherings afford. All information on these groups are on the events page for the website. As always, everything during this time is our information center is oaklandcsl.org. Please make sure you check it out. And if you want the newsletter, please sign up there as well. I want to recognize the fabulous behind the scenes team tonight, the Zoom team that keeps us going. Peggy, Sage, Alice, and Peter. Thank you guys for doing everything to make our evening's events seamless, cohesive, and easy. Thank you guys as always. Reverend Sunshine and Constance too. Reverend Sunshine, unless there's anything else anybody needs to add from the leadership team, we're going to close our service and ask our fabulous Dr. Sunshine to close us in prayer.
I'd be happy to do that. And I add my thanks and gratitude to all of you for embracing me with open arms and just being here with your presence and blessing me and allowing me to bless you. And together we bless each other as we simply walk this dance of life. So as we come together, let us come together in a community collective breath by first exhaling right where you are. Just let it all out. And now breathe in slowly and easily and gently, filling your lungs. And when you get to the top, just hold it gently. And now let it out with a sigh. And as you allow your breathing to simply flow in and out of your body, we do so knowing that it is the breath of life. It is representative, that very breath of the infinite power and presence of God. That living presence, that holy presence, that divine sacred presence that is always within us. It's always around us. It's always underneath, over, above, on either side, flowing within, all around us. It is that sacred breath of life. It is on all planes and dimensions. It is our ancestors that, as I say on my altar every morning, that walk with me, that talk with me, that lead me and guide me and show me the way. It is through my angels that are swirling around me, that are keeping me safe and protected, that are helping me to be steeped in faith, that are reminding me of the resilience in my ancestral lineage that flows through the very blood in my veins and through my DNA. I am blessed. You are blessed. We are blessed beyond measure. And all we need to do is remember that each and every moment. It doesn't matter what is happening. We just come back to that very knowingness that is deep within us. And so in gratitude, I give thanks for our unity, our oneness, our wholeness, and for love. I give thanks for joy and gratitude and harmony and transformation and freedom and healing. I give thanks for liberation. I give thanks for compassion and patience, for clarity. I give thanks for the question and for the answer. And I give thanks for everything in between, the gap space where we grow and we stretch and we learn more about ourselves. I give thanks for faith and trust. I give thanks for clearance and resolution. I give thanks for courage and for my Grammyo's holy boldness that we get to walk through life with. I give thanks for choice and volition. I give thanks for so much more that I can't even fathom. I give thanks for that too. And so standing in gratitude of abundance, and I keep thinking of so many things to be grateful for, I simply allow this word to transcend into the infinite, where it meets love and law, that in partnership it says yes, and it manifests that thing, those things, those qualities, those prayers, those everything that manifests in that soil that we know is so fertile. That law makes it so. We know this as our science of mind principles and practices, and that we can trust on, and that we can have faith in, and that we can rely on. And as we rely on it, then we can just bask in the knowingness and the joyous expectancy of the good that must come. For our word cannot return to us void. It must return fulfilled, pressed down, multiplied, and running over, oozing with the goodness and greatness of God. And so that is the place where I rest. That is the place that I know the truth. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about it. I know it. And therefore, because I know it, I know that it is so. And so I can rest it in this space of joyous anticipation for this good coming forth as the promise of the infinite. And for this, I rest this word in truth and in love. And I ring this bell and say, and so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is.